Hey, what's up, Musers? This is John at Muse for You, here to help you build awesome websites without code. And I'm really excited to be doing today's video tutorial. I'm going to be going over the Muse Motion widget found at museforyoushop.com. So this is the first widget in a series of widgets I'll be creating that will allow for scroll effects in the new responsive version of Adobe Muse. With the new responsive version, or fluid width version, it doesn't allow for scroll effects when you're designing your website with fluid width or using the responsive design in the new version of Adobe Muse. You'd have to revert back to the adaptive design to use the scroll effects, or use a fixed width website to use the scroll effects. So I've taken it upon myself to create these widgets that will allow for really interesting animations as you scroll the website. So here I have the Muse Motion widget. And here's a bit of more information. Before I get into this, I'll go right into the preview page. So I'll click on preview, and here we see it says the first widget for Adobe Muse that allows you to add motion scroll effects to the responsive version of Adobe Muse. And here are some widget options, and here we can see we have scale. The four different things you can do is you can scale, meaning you can make an element from big to small or small to big. You can rotate an element. You can rotate it as many times as you'd like by using multiples of 360 because it's in degrees. You can translate an element, and this just means that you can move the position of the element, and you can skew the element. Is kind of like skewing is like tilting the element. So here we can see it's scaling, and I went over that there. We can rotate an element. Rotate any element clockwise or counterclockwise using the rotate option, and I've talked about the multiples of 360. Translate, the ultimate replacement for scroll effects in Adobe Muse. Easily have any element come from any direction using the translate option. The translate option. Skew, give any element an interesting skew effect by adjusting the skew options, and then you can combine all of these different options to create a really interesting animations. And as we can see, all of this is being triggered on scroll. And then you can group elements or add the same effect to multiple elements to have kind of things animate and sync together pretty much here. So those are the different things you can do with this widget, and it's really unlimited what you can do with it. And you can trigger all of these effects on scroll, which is a lot of fun. Okay, so I'll go back to the shop, and here we can trigger the animation. I'll go over some of the options here. You can trigger the animation on start, on load, on click, on hover, on scroll. You can loop the animation, and you can repeat the animation on on scroll. So you can scale, rotate, translate, skew the element. Additional options: you can set the duration for each of the different types here. You can set a delay for each of these. You can add easing to each of these. You can set the number of bounces, so you can make the animation like really bouncy, or you can make it more stiff by adding stiffness to the animation here, or the motion here. All right, so this widget can really add a lot of animation to your Adobe Muse website and a lot of motion, and it can all be triggered on scroll. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into an example website. So I'll open up my Adobe Muse website. I'll go to File, New Site, and I'll click OK. And I'll click on the home page, and I'll just draw a square. So I'll select the rectangle tool. I'll hold down Shift and create a square. All right, and we're going to animate the square. I'll go to my CC libraries, and we'll make it blue there. All right, now when you first get the widget, it comes in a zip file. To install the widget, you simply extract the zip file, and then you double click on the .mulip file, and that will install the widget directly into your Adobe Muse website, and it'll install it in the library panel. In the library panel. If you don't see the library panel, you can go to Window and then click on Library, and that'll bring up the library panel. Or you could click on it if you have it here to the right. You can click on Library, and it'll bring up the library panel. So now I'll scroll down to the Muse Motion widget, and here I have it. If you've used the animator widget, it's very similar, where it has an initial widget and then an additional widget. So I'm going to click, hold, and drag and place onto my Adobe Muse website, and we can see the widget here. We can place this anywhere we'd like. For the initial, it's great if you have it kind of higher up in the website. And here we're working with a fluid width website, so we can add breakpoints if we'd like. So I'm going to go ahead and animate this square first. So here are the widget options, and I'm using the new widget interface for Adobe Muse. So we can go through the options, we can click on the drop down, and we can see the options that way. And that just makes it kind of easier to navigate through the options, and it's just not one big widget. So here we have trigger animation. The first things we see are instance number and graphic style name. The instance number is if you have multiple motions or effects that you want to add to your Adobe Muse website. You'll want to change this instance number. If you want to add the same animation to multiple elements, you can leave this the same. But for now, we'll say 1 because we're just dealing with one animation. For the graphic style name, this is what you'll assign the graphic style. This is the name you'll assign to the element on your Adobe Muse website. So I have the square here. So now I'll go to my graphic styles. And if you don't see graphic styles, again, you can go to Window and click on graphic styles. And then to create a new graphic style, we want to click on this little icon here that looks like a piece of paper almost. And I'll click here, and we can see it says create a new style from the attributes applied. So I'll click there. And then here we have something that says style. So I'll double click in here, and here I'll give the style name, I'll give it the same name that's in the widget. So this is assigning the widget to this element. So I'll call it motion 1, and that's it. So now this element has the graphic style name motion 1, and in the widget we can see that it says motion 1. So now anything that I change in this widget is going to change it on this element. So for instance, if I want to rotate the element 360 degrees, I'll just go here where it says rotate from, we'll start at 0, and then we'll rotate to, I'll do 2 rotations, so I'll say 720. And the duration, I'll make it 3 seconds, so it's a little bit slower. And 1000 milliseconds is 1 second, so to have 3 seconds in the duration, we'll set it to 3000. We don't want a delay. Let's say we wanted to wait before the animation kicked in. We could set a delay. We can set the easing. We could set it bounce, sway, hard bounce, or hard sway. We could add more bounces to make it really like animated, or we can add more stiffness to it. You could set the bounces to 0 and set the stiffness to 1 to have like a really just stiff kind of animation. But for now, we'll just leave it like that, and I'll preview in the browser. So I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and there we have that rotation, and it bounces a little bit. So it can be really kind of a real animated type of effect, and you can have a really animated website. So yeah, let's say we want more bounce. I could say 10. And I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and then we can see it's really bouncy. All right, so there's the rotation, and we could do counterclockwise for the rotation. So I could set it to -720, and I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and there it's counterclockwise. All right, so we can also scale it. So we can scale it. It's already scaling because we have it at a scaling. We have it scaling from 0.5 to 1, and we can scale from on the X and Y axis and scale to on the X and Y axis. So let's say I set it to 0. It'll give us more of a dramatic scaling. So there it comes in, and I'll take off I'll make the scaling a little bit longer in duration. So I'll set it to 3000, and then we'll leave it at bounce. And I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser. So we can see it comes in a little bit slower. And I'll take off the rotation, or just set it to maybe 360. Or we can do like 180, not 18, but 180. Yeah, and I'll go to File, Preview. Okay. All right, so as we can see, sometimes because of the duration and the rotation, you just have to play with the different options to really get the animation you're looking for. So I'll set it back to 360, and we'll set the bounces to 4 so it's not so bouncy. Yeah, and yeah, we can scale from 0 on the X and Y to 1, and yeah, let's look at that again. File, Preview Page in Browser, and just have a really fluid animation. So it's just kind of a matter of combining animations and seeing what you want for your different elements on your Adobe Muse website. So the translate option, I'll go more over this in a sec too, because I'm just kind of combining different animations. But for the translate, this just means like the position of the element. So let's say we wanted to go from 0 to 300 pixels to the right. We'll set it to 300 on the x-axis, and I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and we can see we can move that element. With triggering it on scroll, you can have you can change the position of the element as it scrolls. So it can make for an interesting scroll effect where you can move the element as you're scrolling the website. So for the bounce on the scale, I'm going to take some of the bounce off. So I'm going to say 0 bounces, and I'm going to make it a little bit more stiff there. We don't want it to rotate. If we do have it rotate and you combine it with the translate, it's going to rotate the element kind of on an axis. So if I set it to 360 and I go to File, Preview Page in Browser, we can see that the element rotates. It's almost like there's an axis here, and it's rotating 360 on that axis. So that could be an interesting effect if you want to kind of move elements on an axis by using the translate and the rotate option together and creating this really cool animation where you can have something rotate on almost like an invisible axis. So like let's say if I did like 720 and I go to File, Preview Page in Browser, we can see it has like a really cool effect there. All right, and even if we change the translate, let's say we go to 300, so now we're changing it on the X and Y axis. So I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and we can see it's a little bit lower there on the website. And if we go to, let's say we go to we'll say -300, and I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, we can see we can have something spin really in a really interesting way and kind of change the position of the element and animate it at the same time. All right, so that can be a lot of fun there. And then skew, I'm just going to take these options off so we can look at the skew option, and then I'll take the rotation off as well. For the skew option, it kind of tilts the animation in a particular way. If you've ever worked, let's say with Edge Animate or After Effects, you can kind of tell that these are similar ideas to those different effects that you can add in those different programs. So it's kind of exciting to be using these in Adobe Muse. So like let's say for instance you wanted to skew the element 20 degrees on the x-axis. I'll just type in 20, hit enter, and let's make the duration a little bit longer to 3 seconds. And now I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and I'll take the scaling off here so we can see it a little bit better. And to set the scaling, to not have it scale, you just set everything to 1. So it starts at a position of 1, which is the full size of the element. So now I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and we can see we have a little tilt to the element there. So let me just skew it a little bit more. We'll do 100, and we'll do 100 on the y-axis as well. So I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and we have a really interesting tilt there, or skew effect. And we can skew it the other way too. Let me click on skew and do -100. Yeah, so I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and we have kind of an interesting skew there. So if we combine all the elements, and one thing I wanted to mention in the translate, you can translate from a different position. So if I wanted to go from the right to the left, the translate from, I'll set it to 300 and on the x-axis, and then I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and we can see it goes from the right to the left. That's something that I kind of went over there, and that's because if you find that your animations aren't working correctly, you'll want to set the scale to all 1 so that it doesn't, if you have it, let's say at 0, then it's going to try to register the animation at the smallest size, and it's going to not work correctly. So if you don't want it to scale, just set all the scale to 1, and then you can translate and do all the other animations here as well. All right, that's just something, and I just kind of, as I was doing this, I went over that too, because I wanted to showcase that you can translate from any direction, and to make sure you can do that, you'll want to set the scale to 1 if you don't want a scale effect. If you have any questions about that, let me know, and I'll be happy to answer them. Just leave any questions in the comment section, and I'll go over that for you. All right, so we have the scale, rotate, translate, and skew. So yeah, we can just combine them, and now we can do scroll effects as well. So let's say I want the element to come from the right to the left. Yeah, if I want it to come from the right to the left, I've already set it here in the translate for it to go from 300 pixels to 0. If you set the translate to 0, it's going to end up in the position that it's in now. Yeah, in the position that it's in now. So so we'll leave it at that. And now if we want to trigger it on scroll, here in the select animation start, we'll just say on scroll, and we'll repeat the animation on scroll. So we'll just check this checkbox here. And now I'll give a little more scrolling space so we can see that scroll effect. And now if I go to File, Preview Page, and Browser, and I scroll down, we see that the animation comes from right to left, and it looks really nice. And it has kind of like a fluid bounce effect. If I scroll back up, it repeats the animation. All right, I could even set it to the on scroll offset. Let's say I want it to start when it's 50% within the browser viewport, or yeah, I'll just type in 50, and I'll go to File, Preview Page, and Browser, and I'll scroll down, and once it gets to 50, it animates. Okay, so now we've gone over the different options. So the next thing I'll show is if you want to add additional elements to your Adobe Muse website. So I'll just create a new square. So I'll go to my rectangle tool, I'll hold down Shift and drag out to create a square, and then I'll change the color here. I'll go to my CC libraries, and I'll make it this green color here, and I'll just move this up here. And now if we wanted to add more animations, we can just go to the library panel, and I'll scroll down, and here in the Muse Motion widget, we'll just click on Muse Motion widget additional. Then I'll click, hold, and drag and place onto my Adobe Muse website. And here we can see it already has a new instance number and a new graphic style name. So if I click here on this new element that I just created with the rectangle tool, and I go to graphic styles, and then here in graphic styles names, I'll just create a new graphic style. So I'll click on this icon here, I'll double click on style, and I'll call this motion 2. And here we can see that in the graphic style name, it says motion 2 there. Okay, and so now if I go to File, Preview Page, and Browser, we scroll. This doesn't have any animation yet because we haven't set any animation. So here, let's see, motion 2. Yep, motion 2 on start. Oh, and we wanted to set it on scroll so we can see it when we scroll to the element. So I'll go to File, Preview Page, and Browser. We have that element and we have this element. Okay, so let's do a rotation. We'll set it to 360, and we'll have it sway and translate. We won't have any translate. We'll skew it maybe 50 on the X, and let's go to File, Preview Page, and Browser. So there's that one, and then we have that one. As you can see, because we set it to sway, it doesn't have much of a bounce to it, but that's just kind of how you want to customize it. If you want to add more bounce or less bounce, you can do that with this widget. So I'll go to File, Preview Page, and Browser. I'll scroll down, and then we have the second animation here. As we can see, it doesn't have as much bounce because we changed the easing to sway, but that's just how you want to customize your animation for your website. So we can just combine any of these animations and have a really interesting scroll effect. So if I copied this element like so, now we have two of the same element, and I'll go to File, Preview Page, and Browser. I'll scroll down, both of these animate together. All right, and I'll just repeat the scroll on the animation on scroll, and I'll go to File, Preview Page, and Browser, and there we have it. We have the animation on scroll. All right, and I'll do the same for this one. This one's repeating on scroll. And yeah, we do need more scroll space. For instance, if I made it really small, there it animates on scroll. So for the first element, you might just trigger it on start if there's not enough scroll space, and then either loop it or kind of play with it so that it looks great when a user first enters the website, if there's not enough scroll space there at the top. For the other ones, you can have them trigger on scroll and just really have some really interesting animations there. You can also trigger all these animations like on hover. So if I go to File, Preview Page in Browser, we can see it there. It triggers on hover. You'll just want to be a little bit careful with these animations when triggering on hover, because it can have kind of a weird effect if you have certain animations with the hover effect. With click, it works really nice. So I'll say on click, and I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser. I'll click, and we can see it animates like that. And I can do the same for these ones here. So trigger on click. So as you can see, we have the initial with instance number 1 and the graphic style name motion 1, and here we have the instance number 2, the graphic style name motion 2 for these elements here, down here. So I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and I'll click, and both of those animate just like that. All right. So I had a lot of fun creating this widget and just kind of merging the world of After Effects and Edge Animate into Adobe Muse. Like I said in the beginning, this is just the first of the series of scroll effect widgets and widgets like these that will allow you to add really interesting animations to your Adobe Muse website. I kind of touched upon it a little bit with the icon animations that has some really interesting effects. So I just wanted to bring in that whole world of animation into Adobe Muse. So as you're working with it, you can really have a very fluid and animated website. And let's say you wanted to have it not visible until it reaches a certain scroll point. Let's say for the one here, the instance number 2, we could say initially it was on scroll, but we could say on scroll fade in, and we could set the on scroll offset. Before it was at 100. We could set it to 50 so that when it hits the middle of the browser, it starts to animate. So I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and I'll scroll up. And as we can see, we don't see the element until it reaches 50% within the browser window, the vertical space, and then it animates. It comes in and it animates at the same time. So that can be a lot of fun and can really make for just really awesome scroll effects. And yeah, if you have things scrolling or translating, I'll do one more example. I know I'm kind of jumping a little bit in this tutorial. And let's say we have something like this, and I'll change the color to like pink here, and I'll copy this here. So I just copied the additional, and I'm going to change the instance number to 3, and then set it to motion 3. I'm going to set the translate to, let's say, -300 and 300. So it's going to come in from the upper left because it's coming from 300 pixels high and 300 pixels to the left. So 300 from the top and 3 from the left, because the negative goes left and the 3 goes up on the y-axis. So now I'll just assign the graphic style name to this pink one here. I'll create a new graphic styles, and I'll call it motion 3. All right, so I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser. I'll scroll down, and we need a little bit more scrolling space there. I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser. I'll scroll down, and we can see that animates from there. And let's give it a little bit more of a duration here. Here in the translate, we'll say 3 seconds. And I'll go to File, and yeah, let me take the scaling off as well. We'll set it to 1 there. And I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, scrolling, and it has rotation on as well, so let me take that off. Here, I'll set it to 0, and I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, scrolling, and why did it come from the... Oh, yeah, because we set the y-axis to 300, so it went down 300. If we set it to -300, it would go up instead of down. So I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and there it comes from the upper left. All right. and it has kind of a bounce to it. So there's a lot of things you can do with this widget. If you have any questions about this widget, just leave it in the comment section below. I know I kind of covered quite a bit of information, and yeah, I think I've mentioned everything that I wanted to in this video tutorial. I'm just really excited about the next kind of batch of widgets that I'm working on. I'm kind of trying to merge all these really interesting animations with Adobe Muse. I think I've already mentioned that. So yeah, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comment section, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. There's also this on-scroll fading option. If you wanted to add more fading to the element as it comes into the viewport or into the browser as you scroll. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video tutorial. Again, to access this widget, you simply go to museforyoushop.com, and here you can click on the pop-up, and here you can click subscribe to get access to all widgets and any new widgets I come out with for $39 a year. Or if you'd like to subscribe with PayPal, you can click here to subscribe with PayPal. Or if you'd like to purchase the widget individually, you can click on the widget here and then click add to cart to purchase individually. Or again, you can get access to all widgets and any new widgets I come out with for $39 a year. So that's it for this video tutorial. Yeah, I'm just having a lot of fun with widgets at the moment, and I'll be coming out with a few other video tutorials on Adobe Muse. If you like this video tutorial, you can subscribe below. Also in the show more section below are links to other resources and links to museforyoushop.com. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video tutorial. Thank you.